Okay, recording has started. So I will remind everybody, the council and the public are to be advised that meetings of council are not being live streamed. However, a video recording of the meeting will be available on the council's website. So the first item of the agenda is numbers present. Is Roy, Renee, Edna, Orvackham, and Bauer, and myself. We have apologies from Councillor Kermode and Councillor O'Connor. Are there any declarations of interest? No, there's no declarations of interest. Next item on the agenda is minutes of the ordinary meeting of New England County Council held on the 15th of August. And there is one matter arising from that, which is that the minutes of the extraordinary meeting of the council meeting on the 17th of April were to be deferred by way of resolution 1823 and considered at this meeting of council. So I did note that there was one amendment to that meeting, which is that Councillor Gresham should be listed on the front cover as well as on the attendance. So subject to that, can I have a mover to say to accept those minutes?
Before you do that, pardon me, do you want to move that the apologies be accepted?
Okay, I'll move the apologies accepted. All in favour?
I'll second. Thank you.
Okay, so can I have a mover then to accept the minutes of the 21st of April? Moved by Councillor Bauer, seconded by Councillor Atkin. All in favour? Aye. Okay, minutes of the special meeting of the New England County Council on the 19th of September. Are there any matters arising? If not, I will ask the mover to accept those minutes.
I can find that. I mean, what was my
in the document that you sent me, because I wasn't sent the updated documents.
Oh,
I don't know where the originals are.
This is my fault, not anybody else's fault. That's what I'm trying to tell you.
Well, I'm sorry, I don't have access to what those minutes were, and they're not presented as far as I can see, or I can't find it.
well, clicking on the document actually.
There's a hyperlink, is there?
There's a hyperlink in the document. There may also be a link on the NEWA website. But it may depend if, I think the minutes were there. Just see if I can find them here. It all, does the hyperlink work? Yeah,
PDF.
in the PDF. Not in the.
Won't work in a preview, it'll work in the open PDF, it'll work.
So they're fairly brief minutes anyway. So I read them and I was happy with them. Do you want any more time to read them? Or we're all happy to approve them? Okay, I'll move from the chair that we accept the minutes of that meeting, which was 19th of September. All in favour? I've moved it from the chair, so I don't actually need a second in this case. Are there any matters arising from that special meeting? In that case, let's move on to the General Manager's report and the quarterly business review. So over to you, General Manager.
Okay, and what I will do is just pass over to Ed, who prepared the quarterly business report.
There is an update which we need
Yeah.
to distribute. I'm not sure it's been distributed to them.
Some of the numbers in the other one were wrong, so hopefully they were corrected.
So the amended, sorry,
Yeah.
it's done the detail of the work on this. Absolutely. The amended version is because, as Dorothy was the chair correctly pointed out, on total, there's a total line that didn't agree. Didn't have the impact on the overall result. It's the explanation for that is that when we put together a quarterly budget review report, we use a template which is used across all councils. In NEWA's case, the adopted budget is a slightly different format. It's comes in the form of a cost of sales and gross profit, and then we've got a net result. So in fiddling through that, we neglected to update that table.
Yeah.
So that's
I just literally wasn't using that column, so I didn't check it.
so it has no bearing on it. The overall result, actually, that's not the correct version. Is that right?
No, that's not.
That's not the correct version.
Yeah, I've got a version here that looks correct.
Then have a look on the bottom line. It should actually say the net 50,000 something. Right?
197,120.
Yes, it's not certainly not.
So if the proposed variance, we're looking at, the proposed variance shouldn't be 79, it should be 50, something like that, when you print it.
Very clear that as it may, we'll work through the document. So the original budget column is the one the council adopted in June, and that's in blue highlight. We've added the actuals to date on the left-hand side of that. And there's a column there which is simply an arithmetic calculation of what's remaining in the budget. There's a percentage column which tells you the percentage that's used. And in that green column, we've identified a number of projected changes to the original budget. And they're highlighted there in that column. And then obviously the final column is the adjusted budget with those projected changes which we're asking council to adopt at this meeting. So possibly best to present that as is and ask for any questions that might be forthcoming.
I guess what's the proposed adjusted budget surplus at the end of the we're not reading the right document, so.
Yeah, I apologise for that. As we said, I'll have a look at
It's 50,
the actual document.
It will come from 198,000 approved budget down to what?
148, that is the correct
The
figure.
correct numbers are there. It's been adjusted.
It's this
Variance line, it's not.
The variance line should read 50,700.
Yeah.
$50,700, and you should have in the variance.
Bottom line. So all those figures in the top part in that green column add or net to 50,700.
I do obviously ended up with an actual which is a higher accounting consultancy than expected, but that would presumably be because of the difficulties of the audit process.
Yeah, and we should declare an interest in that. I'll get Tim to answer that question.
So a lot of your decrease in surplus has come from your superannuation increase. Is that just an oversight of the original budget, or is that an inflation employees to start with?
It was actually budgeted basically in salaries and wages. So we've taken it out of salary wages and put it against the superannuation line so that it's where it could be. We can see it as a single item.
Yep. So you'll see above that, the salaries and wages, and it's got a negative amount of 55.
Yeah.
It's 55 being moved to that. Here are other variances as
Yeah.
well. And again, it gets back to the construct of the original budget. Some of those costings were aggregated in the original budget. We're now splitting them out.
Yeah.
Because that's the way we want to track them from an end of year perspective. And that's all part of just the fine tuning of the chart of accounts and the budget process that we're going to go through now, with zero being our system of choice.
We do have an increase there, like telecommunications. What do you do about that though?
Is it right to say that the salaries and wages aren't split between operational staff and back office support? GM, it's just one line, so it's not in operating expenses, the remainder of salaries.
Salaries and wages is all in the operation, yeah. There's only.
You know, it's all in cost of sales, is there?
That's right, all in one line.
Switching gear, topical thing. There was no budget for telephone in the original budget. Is that what's what it says on the other side?
It was conglomerated in the line which is ICT expenses. The bottom operating cost there. But I don't believe we allocated enough for it in hindsight, because the accumulated costs of the ICT expenses, which is the contract with Roberts and Morrow, plus other ICT incidentals, plus the telephones, is more than what the budget was proposed.
I think that might improve with the new building and efficiencies and so forth, but just right now on the expenditure trend, we thought we best do the increase. And if we do have efficiencies, we'll take them up later.
One of the other aspects to note is that, given that it's the first quarterly review, it is sometimes very difficult to pick correct trends. That's why we do another review in December and March, and that's where we can fine tune and adjust those things.
I guess, you know, the point being that, and we've discussed this before, is that the budget reviews aren't meant to be, oops, that's what happened, other than unforeseen expenses, and it's supposed to be a trend and a prediction that, so the council has turned up and say, well, yes, we're approving you to go up or go down or sideways on certain things. So it's not meant to be just to draw a line in the sand where you are. Yeah, endorsing the line, right, you know, signing off on it. So
Are there any other?
just on the depreciation, because I know we've discussed that before. I don't recall whether it's a ramp up because we've bought more equipment that needs to be depreciated. That so far for the first quarter was 30,000, 30,000 budgets. That's a cool.
Yeah.
So that's fine.
Yeah.
Essentially, technically on train.
Yes,
Yes.
depreciation has increased. As you correctly say, we have purchased more equipment over the last 2 to 3 years, and we're also writing off older equipment that we've had in the system. So the newer equipment is more expensive, and therefore the depreciation is slightly higher.
Is there one more question, Dorothy?
Yeah.
Why interest income was showing was negative?
Yes,
Mm.
that relates to a journal which is now being fixed because it's interest that we accrued back to the previous year. And so that when that interest is actually received, when we draw down that or we draw down that a balance of an investment in October, then the journal for the interest writes over the top of that. So that's recognising the interest that we accrued from that investment back into the previous year, because the portion of it was related to last financial year.
And in that point, you'll see there's some other negatives in the actual column. They are simply also transactions that relate to accruals for the last year's financials, but until we have our statements audited and the like, I prefer them to sit there because that's actually what our system looks like. So,
And had we have the audit completed.
yeah, you would not have seen
that.
Yeah.
And we're about to return a cash deposit into our account, and that'll have the same effect again because there'll be interest on that. Because it's $500,000 and there'll be interest on that going back to the last financial year of approximately $20,000.
So you'll notice we haven't at this stage anticipated any movement in the interest income for the year. Despite that small credit balance, we're still expecting to receive 25%.
So are there any other comments or questions?
Insurance is expensive, but I'm saying
Yeah.
Yeah, and getting more expensive all the time.
yeah,
Okay, well, we have a recommendation that council endorse the changes detailed in the reports of the September 2023 quarterly budget review.
I'll move on.
Could I have a seconder?
Yeah.
And Tim seconded. All in favour? The next one is the weeds control programme. Like the weeds management programme. So again, perhaps the general manager can give us a summary. Because I did have a couple of questions in that report which I forwarded to you about the staff time spent on some of these things and targets.
Yep. So I asked Matt Vitale to join us. Matt's a team leader for biosecurity. So I thought as we're going through the weed control report, he'd be a handy person to be able to comment on it. This place, right, anyway, look. No. Okay, it's all fairly self-explanatory, but I'll just go through it. It's predominantly the tables that we're looking at. The first table gives a split up by local government area. So Armidale, Glen, Uralla and Walker. So you can see there the July to September totals of inspections. So these are inspections that have been carried out by the biosecurity officers. And in the October to December, it's obviously only October because we're only 1 month into the quarter. So that shows that we're fairly much on target. Just for information, LLS have reduced our targets. We used to do higher numbers than those that are currently reflected here, but that are neighbouring, weeds authorities in general complained that the targets were too high and couldn't be achieved. I mean, we had targets, I think last year were about 1,700 or something.
For Glennis, it was 500.
Yeah.
I think Armidale was up there. So, Inverell was 400 and something.
Yeah. And as you can see now, they're roughly 189, except for Armidale, where we have 2 biosecurity officers, so it's just double the number. So what's happened is the targets have been reduced, but it obviously doesn't change our level of activity. So that's why you see that we're the target's 945, we're on 961 already. So we're less than halfway through the year, and we've already exceeded the LLS target. So,
and we'll continue to exceed them. So how many do you expect to have done by the end of the year?
1,700 odd is what we achieved last year. So, yeah.
And you haven't stopped and Gladys, you reach your target there, so we've got to stop there.
No,
We keep going, it's just means that like, if there are areas that are struggling and stuff like that, we can potentially
yeah.
redirect.
And you will see on another chart that we've come to, well, actually it's on the next page, that we have a lot of specialist areas, which has, gravel quarries and all kinds of things. So we tend to concentrate on those after we've hit the other targets as well.
And my question was on the one where sort of Amland had done 20,000 hectares. Is that somebody else who did those?
Yeah, the website, I think we got the one from last year,
Yeah,
last energy,
yeah.
the hard copy ones.
Give me the laptop.
Oh no, I hope you're all looking at the right ones.
Well, I'm looking at the one that was emailed out, John.
Yeah.
I think. Yeah.
No.
No, that's all right. Oh, yeah, if you just, just. What about, what it is, most of it is off the top.
It's amazing that,
Yeah.
I agree, did exactly 17,065 hectares. Amazing statistic. What do you know, John?
Oh, it's just the point is, yeah.
You do?
Exactly the same amount of hectares
Is it? And the first, I wonder if,
in July.
Well,
September.
yeah.
But something funny about those two tables is that we've got 23, 24 and then 23, 24 to end of it. They both say they seem to be claiming the same biosecurity property inspections and hectares. So yeah, those are the numbers. So Anne hasn't done the actual inspections, but she's done 20,000 hectares.
Yeah,
She's also got to hit a catch up because she's got the same target as someone who worked the full year.
I don't know why.
They want this.
Yeah.
I
That's
That's
the main thing is to fix it and then issue a
Yes.
restriction.
could talk to Brent about. It doesn't have any roads inspections either, and he's got a whole heap. He's
Yeah,
Shall we defer that report then?
yeah, we will defer that report to the next meeting or the chair, the GM can issue a correction.
Yeah, I'm not sure of the merit of deferring the report.
Yeah,
Because these numbers come out of our BIS system. This system is actually DPI's system. So it may be that I think the concern is about the number of hectares. Is that right, Matt?
Yeah, so like if you look at like Brent has done by far the most hectares out of all of us. So absolutely none.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's actually, I'm pretty sure at the moment he's actually exceeding his target with hectares.
Yeah.
So, and then he's got none, I've got none from October, like from that October, December.
Yeah.
Yeah, and like Anne's got some, which doesn't make sense because what little inspecting she would have done. And they're also from the July set that, you've got Anne and Will here that have done inspecting in July, September, but they only started recently.
Yes.
So it's just some something's going on there.
Yeah.
Yes. And what I'm trying to do is the way this works is that it's a software program provided by DPI to which we import all of our inspections. And then once we import the inspections, they're actually synced up to DPI. So one of the things that is often the case is that, as Matt pointed out, he has no inspections, but he's done inspections. So that means they haven't synced up to the figures.
Yeah.
I also know in Ant's and Will's case that they went out with other biosecurity officers such as Andrew and Brent carrying out inspections, that they may have entered the entered the inspections under their name, although the inspections were by someone who is accompanying them.
Yeah.
The same as if you're a student pilot, you log the hours, but the instructor logs the hours, sort of thing. So I think we can defer it, but I'm not sure this is the beginning and end of the world, because what we're looking at is that we're only less than halfway through the year, and we're already 84% of the target has been achieved. So what happens is each month we go by the numbers.
The individual breakdowns only for us internally. What gets reported to DPI is just the total number.
Yeah, look, I'm happy with the recommendation, happy to move, so I'd like to do.
Yeah,
Yeah.
well, should we,
Needs to be deferred.
yeah, no, we
Yeah.
don't should defer, but we should, but also have another clause saying that the discrepancies should be noted and corrected by the next report.
Okay, you just have to bear with me, because if I'm trying to listen and talk and write at the same time, it doesn't
Yeah,
come
that's
to
not
easily.
easy. Yeah, so you've
Okay.
got the discrepancies should be noted and corrected by the next report.
Yep.
Okay, we have a mover and a seconder.
Yeah, I agree with that comment, by the way, because I don't like moving.
Employee has to agree.
Yeah,
But I'm not going to agree with that, yes.
yeah,
Because then he.
okay, so you're happy with that?
I'm happy to accept the amendment, yes.
Right, moved by Troy and seconded by councillor Bowler. All in favour?
Yeah, I just as a comment through the chair, I think what's important is that we look at where we are in the business and not micromanage the mathematics, because the mathematics are important, but what's really important is how are we going on inspections. Now, we do a lot of analysis that the Department of Primary Industry doesn't do, to break it down by LGA, by biosecurity officer, which is what Matt was saying, et cetera, but they don't worry about that. They just say, how many inspections have been done, how many hectares have you covered, and have you ticked off all these particular areas like quarries and nurseries and things like that. So yes, I mean, we'll look into it to understand why they are what they are. Hesitant to say that they're wrong, because they're in there somewhere. And if someone's been incorrectly allocated, we can correct that.
Yeah.
But that's more our internal analysis, because the analysis is done internally. It's not the DPI figures that change, because they don't have all this, who's the biosecurity inspector, and, was it in Gleninus or Uralla or what have you, et cetera. So,
So if you look, Tim,
yeah,
you've got that hectares, number of hectares, then if you look below, it's got the inspections by bio officer.
yes,
So like obviously that's sort of the big things that they obviously can't match up if, Anne's only inspected 4 properties in October, December.
yeah,
How does she do it? So
yes,
just as long as the correct information's being
yes,
spoken about.
exactly.
Yeah, the totals look, that all looks to be correct. It's the hectares one that seems to be out of sorts.
Yes. And I, to be honest, have no idea where Brent's getting that number from.
Yeah, I could talk to him and find out.
Yeah.
Something just might have bugged up on the when he pulled it out.
Okay. So there's one there that has the largest chart that talks about measurable outcomes, and that has all of the specific types of inspections, as well as the private property the roadsides and pathways and things like that. So again, we always struggle in terms of hectares, but we are 52% of actual inspection numbers, and we're 50% of actual hectares that have been inspected. And interestingly, yes, it does. If you look at the total number of hectares, 72,673, and the total number of hectares in that DPI chart, if I can put it that way, is also 72,673. So the hectares are tying up. It's our analysis by staff member that is a bit off the chart. So I think there's some mismatch.
Yeah.
It could be that all yours have gone to Anne or something like that. You know, it's that sort of error.
Yeah.
However, from the point of view of the business, we're going well. We're well under halfway through the year, but we're over halfway through the inspections. Our educational program is going pretty well, although we haven't got into the season. The season being the ag shows and field days and things like that are held later in the year, etc. So that's going well. And earlier on, before we started, I mentioned that we're unfortunately our media person that we've been using decided to have a baby and stopped working. So we've recently appointed a new person to get all our sort of media, social media, newsletters and things continuing on. So that's happening. Method of inspections is other than interest of how we get to places is fairly constant, and we've done some training in the first part of the year, which importantly, there's, to your point, Troy, the other night, that's compliance, regulatory, legal training, etc. So we took 5 of our biosecurity officers. The training was held in Coffs Harbour, and we did ACFEC or something like that. Anyway, a training group to take us through the whole legal system of enforcing biosecurity compliance, including we actually all had to appear in the box and be cross-examined by a real barrister sort of thing. He made life very difficult for a few of us. So we're up to speed of the rules and regulations, and this will come on to later in the day. I think everyone's aware of our new sort of spray technology that we've adopted, and we also did prohibited matter training, which was for basically recognising, weeds and things like that. So we've closed off a number of projects, in particularly the Murray-Darling project is the latest one to finish. It's 207 at the moment, but when we file our completion report, we'll get about another $30,000 as our final payment. So if anyone has any questions on weeds, I know. How did you go, Councillor Bauer, with explaining to the council the new strategic weeds list?
Well, funny you should ask that.
Was that I went well, or well, funny you should ask?
Being very diplomatic, because on one side of the room we have someone with a grade 2 noxious weed covering their place, and on the other side of the room we've got someone who wants something done about it immediately and all this sort of thing. So, and this is where you were invited down to come down at some stage and talk to the council about where a grade 2, what position we take.
Yes.
So rather than me give a false information, I'll throw you into the fire.
Yes.
No, it's not that bad really. It's just an explanatory sort of Probably a 5-minute walk, that's all it'll be.
No, that's okay, because
So that's how it went.
later on in this meeting, we've got another one that's a little bit more serious, which is in Troy's area in Glen, where we've already had the bit of the shootout of the AK per hour, and the New South Wales farmers and all the rest of it, and that has we'll talk a bit more, has been to see Winston, and we've had a chat and got a sort of course of action, but it does get very
I'm
complicated.
quite happy to talk quite open about it. It's not anything that's confidential, so it's,
Yeah.
any questions, I'm quite happy to answer.
Okay.
Okay, are there any other comments or notes before we move on? We've already had a motion to accept the report and correct the old bit. Right, the next thing is an update on the new office and depot. And with the recommendation is that the report setting out the progress and status of the office and depot construction be noted by council. And I certainly note that we've got a note bill of 1.87 million and a balance of 675,000 still to pay. If you're correct. Would you like to add any more comments, Mr. General Manager?
Would say no.
On the vote.
Okay. Those figures are correct. The 1870 is the contracted price, including GST. So we've got to take GST off that. It comes to about 1.7 something. And we do have 675,000 still to pay to completion. Our variations have actually reduced by $11,500. So we had a couple of variations that we put in at the beginning of the project, things we knew hadn't been quoted for in the price. They were actually priced but not included in the tender price. So we put those in. They came to $35,000 odd. But we've actually reduced a number of our provisional sums by 11.5. So our variations are 23. And there's a complete breakdown there of what's actually been done, what percentage of activities have been completed, and the money that's associated with them. So that's where the numbers are coming from. And as you see, to date, we're up to 1.205 after the payment of 552. And we have about so it's not that good, 675,000 to go. So we're making good progress. The offices are up to tiling and flooring is down, painting is underway, and then the carpeting and what have you will go into the offices. So they're substantially completed. The depot, the superstructure of the shed is up. And that basically requires just roofing and siding. There's not a lot of work involved in that. And then the last stage will be the concreting of driveways and parking and things like that. The vehicle wash, which includes tanks under the ground and a lot of draining and logistics, that's all been completed and concreted and finished. So we're making progress. The building itself will be finished before Christmas, but we've agreed to look at the end of January for actual sort of occupation, because they said they prefer not to be in a situation where we're trying to occupy a building while they're trying to finish off little bits and pieces and landscaping and what have you. They said we'd rather finish it, hand it over, and happy days, and that suits our financial position, which we'll talk about in a little while. So it's on track. It's on budget. It's under budget if you take the contingency into place, and there's no reason why it shouldn't stay that way. There's no. Sorry.
That's an overflow.
Yeah, I don't. I mean, there's nothing more to be decided. It's basically get on and do it. It is a fixed price contract, so we should be good.
Can we have a mover and a seconder for Troy and
Yeah, I'm happy to. We're running out of councillors, thank you.
Well, that's for next time, hopefully. So that's just moving the recommendation as printed. All in favour? Right.
What's that?
Print something. Now, next thing is a report on the Leeds County Council Network Collaborative Association. We've got a report there. Does anybody have any questions or anybody want to add any more information?
Shall we back to
None.
Well, presumably also travel. That would be already included in the travel budget.
Yes, and we do. Well, just by way of a bit of an explanation, is there are 8 county councils in New South Wales. We county council in New South Wales, 2 exceptions being Rouse, which is also a water county council, and the Illawarra District Weeds Authority is part of the Illawarra Shoalhaven JO sort of thing. Where it has come from is a number of us getting together and saying, is there benefit in us working collaboratively, sharing information, etc., etc. And that proved to be exceptionally useful to the extent where we held an initial meeting at Bathurst about 3 or 4 weeks ago, I suppose 4 weeks ago now. And it was agreed that we felt it was sufficiently beneficial to meet quarterly. That can either be GMs on their own, it can be GMs together with chairs, which was the case in Bathurst. All the chairs attended that as well, and also with the senior weeds people, because there's a lot of weed knowledge amongst the attending weeds authorities to share what they're doing, and it's really a sort of a collaborative best practice. I bring it to council's attention just so that you know that it's happening, it's going on. There's a huge amount of information that is available and beneficial to the various member organisations, ranging from people wanting to know about financial systems. Castlereagh were part of Walgett and they parted company, so they're saying, well, what do we do about everything that we've just gone through? I pick up a lot of information on benchmarking, position descriptions, salaries, that sort of information, etc. So it's a useful organisation. They voted and I agreed that they wanted to hold it in Armidale, their next meeting. So that's scheduled, I think, for February the 21st, if I remember correctly. And the reason for that is obvious. They want to look at our new building and look at the facilities that we have, because most weeds authorities operate out of the back shed of the council depot, and they're interested to see what we're hoping to achieve, sort of thing. So again, it's really just alerting to people that there'll be a fairly substantial meeting, because it will have not only all of the county councils attending, but there'll be people from DPI and LLS and what was that group we were talking about? NEWA, National.
Oh, the natural resource.
Natural
resource.
That's it. Who are we talking to that about?
That was I can't remember the man's name off the top.
No, I know, man. There was somewhere either yesterday or so we were talking to someone about, or I was talking to someone about the natural, and they said, "Oh, I've never heard of them. I don't know who the hell they are." So, yeah. Oh, it was David.
It was David Moore.
It was
Yeah,
David
just
we
when
were
you said that, I
talking
was
to,
like, he had never.
Because he does work for EPA and DPI.
Yeah.
And he didn't know who the natural resources were. So that's basically it. I think it's a great thing. It's probably something NEWA should have done 25 years ago. and there's a lot of benefit to come out of it. One area that they are specialising in is legal compliance. So they've done a lot of work on, to your point with your council issues and Troy's as well. They've done a lot of work with legal people to say, you know, what can we do, what can't we do, how do we do it? They've also developed a lot of systems, software systems for measuring compliance. And all of that is to our benefit because we pick up all of that knowledge and information and process and procedures and can piggyback off all of that. So there's a lot of stuff that we can benefit from one another. I don't know, Matt was there, he wasn't in the general managed part of it, but you were dealing with some of the weeds officers and things. It's just good to look at how other people.
So what was that, Ben? What was that meeting?
It was just a meeting of the county councils in New South Wales,
Okay.
which they all attended. I mean, it was pretty well attended, wasn't it?
Yeah, and I think there wasn't anyone that wasn't there.
Yeah,
Or at least a representative from each of the.
Yeah.
Counties.
yeah. So, so it isn't an association. It has no articles. There's no voting rights or anything else. It's just a collaborative, let's get together and benefit from being able to share ideas and discussions and what have
And the legal folly you were talking about? What included?
Through the legal is it's a legal firm who specialises in biosecurity compliance, either defending landholders or protecting weeds authorities against landholders.
So just showing you information on where your legal position is on both sides.
Yes, and someone where you can go and seek advice, and it isn't a legal firm that knows nothing about biosecurity. It's a legal firm who understands the real detail. So before we decide to take any action that could have implications, I say seriously, not facetiously, but a bit like this High Court decision where they took a great decision and all of a sudden it backfired with potentially 300 people having to be released from jail. Well, we can take legal action against the landholder who might take us to court, and if we lose in court, we could have legal fees of $100,000, $150,000 sort of thing. So it's to make sure that what we do with the best, knowledge and information, sort of thing.
Okay, well, we've got a recommendation there. The report introducing the Leeds County Council network be received and noted by council. I can.
Move the recommendation.
I'll second it this time. So all in favour? Now, the next thing is the financial report. Do you want to add anything else to the financial report, Mr. General Manager?
No, the financial report is obviously something that Laurie has been intimately involved with. Is that the right terminology? In particular, dealing with our auditors, etc. So this seemed to be an area of great concern. So
through the chair, I'm happy to just give you a very quick update. I'll take the report as read, but there's no significant additional information other than what's in there. We're working with Forsyths, who are somewhat constrained by the audit office, obviously because Forsyths are contractors to the audit office, and the audit office is calling shots on this one. So Forsyths are progressing to the best of their ability. We have not heard any outcome as yet in terms of the review that was signalled in the engagement plan, which was issued in August. That is the expenditure review. And until that's completed, Forsyths were advised that they were not to start the financial year end audit. And as you know, the draft financial statements have been sitting with Forsyths since 14th, which actually in that well, it was officially about the 10th of August. They had a version prior to that, but the final version was submitted with all the working papers by the 10th of August, which accorded with the engagement plan. But that's sat in their offices and has not been touched to our knowledge. I had a review of their website today where they have their client assistance schedule and all the queries that they have through the audit process. There's not, apart from some matters relating to IT and fraud control, there's been no detailed questions relating to the guts of the audit. So at this point in time, I don't believe that they've actually started the end of year financial audit and are still waiting for direction from the AO. We did have, to pick up the point on the extension, given that we were between meetings, we couldn't seek council resolution for that, but we had to take action because the legislation requires a application for extension to be lodged by the 17th of October with the OLG. So we took that step, noting that at that point in time, there was no possible hope that we'd be completed before the end of October. OLG issued an advice that the extension has been granted to the 22nd of December. And we then advised the auditors at Forsyths that we received that advice and asked them pointedly, do they have the resources at that time of year to be able to complete the audit? And the answer was, yes, we do, but it was subject to obviously us providing all relevant information. The other issue is that the general manager was on leave from the 15th of December. So we advised Forsyths that everything needs to be finalised and submitted to OLG by that date in order to meet the extension timeframe. Otherwise, we may be forced to seek a second extension. At this point in time, we're doing what we can to provide information to Forsyths, and that will continue. That's as far as it is at the moment. I have no additional information.
Do you expect any further documentation to be required?
Oh, absolutely. Because if it's normally part of the financial year end, they will be seeking a range of sample information for which they do their testing. So they'll be looking at particular accounts and particular sections of the ledger and then selecting their requested information. Mind you, the Xero system will enable that because they'll be able to find what they're looking for pretty well straight away. But typically they will issue a raft of queries around different issues within the financials, and then we respond to those. So that process takes time. And we've had none of that in relation to the end of the financials at this point.
And not all of the information will be in Xero for the previous financial year, which we may be.
However, they were dealing with that at the interim audit as well. So they've already done that process where they've looked initially at NEWA, and then they've moved to Xero, and they've already covered the migration process in that interim audit. So hopefully the end of year financial audit will be relatively straightforward, but getting any queries, so can't respond to them until we do.
We did, just for information, request an extension to the 28th of February. And for reasons we do understand, but we won't go into, the audit office said, no, we only need an extension 22nd of December. So, which I think was a bad judgment on their part because it won't be done by the 22nd of December, in my humble opinion.
If that's the case, it won't be by a lack of doing things, it'll be because it's an audit process.
Yeah.
So I don't have any information, more information. Thank you.
Okay, the printed recommendation is that council note the status of the current audit and draft annual financial statements for the year ending 30th of June 2023 and await further information. Yeah, I'll move it. Can I have a second? You got a second there over here? Son?
I don't understand what and wait further information means.
We'd rather change it.
You just stop it at 30 June. I don't know what.
Well,
as part of the motion, what does that mean? The council notice goes to the current audit and await further information.
I would understand that. No, I understand.
We are waiting for.
I like your answer. Laurie, on this one?
It was,
It was a lot better than what has been said here.
it was included in the recommendation because the would actually said if there's any additional information you want to provide, that information that it adds nothing to the resolution because it's only a note in the report anyway. So it doesn't matter to me which way.
Okay, well, we'll change it then to delete the last 4 words. And you have to, yeah. All in favour? Right, the next thing is probably, does anybody need to move with cars and things?
Move, yeah.
Does anybody need to move cars or?
Actually, yes, we will. Yeah.
We will probably have a agree to move cars.
Helen's going to go from here.
Probably at least another half an hour, I'd mention, if not longer.
We've got to 3 o'clock.
Yeah.
Be done by then.
Hopefully we'll try.
I only really have till 2:30.
And
I only really have till 2:30. Stretch the friendship.
oh, you've got till 3 anyway, because you,
Yeah, just to move the car. Oh, we've got a council meeting on the Saturday, and that's
yeah.
been put back.
Same still this afternoon.
It's 5 instead of 4. It's only a main one. It's not just a board meeting.
While we're waiting for us to be moved, I was just wondering if any. So we probably better wait.
You can say what you want to say.
Oh, I was just wondering whether we can, have any more term deposits or notice calls for rather than having cash and we've still got 14 Ks at call at the moment. Some of this will, and that won't be due until February, will it, on January, to pay for the building.
We should probably get to the next item.
Yeah.
Before discussing that point.
Yeah.
But we're just about to end a term deposit for $500,000.
Yeah.
So yeah. So you were thinking of putting more money on deposit?
Well, always having it on. Sometimes you can get 1 month's notice. Accounts with fairly good interest.
Yes.
Okay, that's good.
That's quick.
Just
It's good when I, it's just a.
Okay, well,
Yeah. 3.
Probably.
9.2, isn't it?
Well, you're talking, it's probably good to be going with the financing arrangements.
yeah, that's all. I just wanted to get the chair to introduce the report.
Yeah, the next one is the new office and depot fan financing.
And we were asked to investigate opportunities with both T-Corp and commercial banks, in particular the Commonwealth Bank. So
Yes. So this follows on from a report earlier this year. And at that stage, we received endorsement to proceed with raising loan funds as per the original report and the budget. Over the passage of time, we've been forced to eliminate T-Corp as an option. T-Corp, despite initially providing information, suggested that they would be very happy to fund the program when it went through the process in early August. And you might recall I've reported at the last meeting that there was a signal from T-Corp that they had no funds to distribute because the Treasury hadn't released the funds. I suspect that was probably just a catch-all advice, which was to say, be cautious. And as it turned out, not long after that, we were actually instructed by T-Corp that they were not able to lend to county councils because it was not part of the charter. The board of T-Corp apparently reviewed and decided that they weren't able to lend finance to county councils. which I found extremely strange. Nevertheless, two corporate is off the table as an option. So we immediately approached our current banker, Commonwealth Bank, and we've been in negotiation with them since on options for funding. Long story short, as of late Friday afternoon, we received an offer of funding from Commonwealth. It does come with terms and conditions, which we need to explore. And those terms, the major part of those conditions relate to the seeking of a guarantee from each member council in relation to the funding. That's a process that we'll have to initiate. So we have approval, but it comes with those conditions. And if we can satisfy those conditions, then we will be able to receive the money.
And how much are we trying to?
That is $1 million. We do have options to borrow less, and that's something that we will consider as a second pass, because we may not need to have the $1 million. And if we relax the amount of money that we're borrowing, it might also relax the terms and conditions. And we need to explore that further with the Commonwealth. As I said, we only received that advice late Friday afternoon, so we haven't had time to position that. We need to go back to the Commonwealth and work through that process.
And what was the interest rate in what?
It's 6.92, and that is there's a margin built in for that, obviously because of the risk that we don't have regular rate income, which is what typical councils do. And when lending authorities borrow money against councils, they secure that funding as per the local government regulation against the rate income of the council. So we don't have that. So they have to find other ways to secure that debt.
Would you be interested in, if you had approval from an outside bank besides Commonwealth, would that attract you at all?
Possibly, we would need to consider the terms and conditions. Because I imagine that all the commercial lenders will have a single platform and that they will be releasing funds on a risk basis. And because Commonwealth have taken a significant amount of time but back and forth on information from us, they formed a judgment on the element of risk. That's how they've positioned the offer. And I expect that probably other lenders would do the same thing. So
That's just been informed that the Regional Australia Bank has been promoted to a BBB rating, which incorporates this. I'm just curious.
yeah,
I'm not affiliated or anything, not declaring any interest if I haven't been. I actually bank with the NAB, but they've been very competitive on the sort of been tied up with. And I could, if you would like, arrange a meeting.
Yeah, well, the obvious answer is yes, we would. I mean, we're interested to talk to anyone and see what it is that they are able to offer. The complexity we have is as a county council, and this is something we've learned over the last, I suppose, 6 months, is that county councils are different from every other animal because in the eyes of lending institutions, we don't have any income.
Like a capital really as well, you know.
Yeah, they so because we don't have any financial income, they don't have any way of securing the loan other than over the building, and they don't take.
They might be interested.
not able to under the local government regulation.
Yes. Yeah. So so that's the one we've been tussling with. The way that I've now learned county councils are structured is that they are a product of and therefore funded by their member councils. So each member council contributes to the hence the member contributions for the county council. So we don't have any rates income. So essentially, put simply, the rates income of the member councils, part of that is for the benefit of and is directed to the county council. So that's how the system works. Now, we're not actually looking for money, but in the case of the Commonwealth Bank, they're looking for the member council support of the county council borrowing some money.
question is, do we still need $1 million?
Yeah.
Genesis of $1 million is because T Corp didn't loan underneath $1 million. So we put spreadsheets around that branch. And that's no longer,
So you certainly think $500,000 would be fine.
only got $1 to go, there's 800,000 cash.
Yeah, that's a point.
Certainly details on there, isn't it? You're going to bring.
Yeah, I was going to say, I can give a quick answer to that. Whether we need 500,000 or $1 million, there's lots of numbers to be done.
One of the things we need to consider is that we also have significant amount of restricted funds that we need to secure, and we don't have that available just to spend on anything. So we have to take that into consideration of the amount that we hold within the bank.
Yeah.
And I think if it comes down to do we need another resolution for seeking further advice, I think the original resolution covers it. Don't have an issue with that.
Yeah.
No, I think equally, there's no problem, but equally, if you think that any of our member councils are going to guarantee a loan, I think you're a long way out or a long way off from anything like that. So that's not a conversation really that we need to bring to a facilitated table, because I don't believe in the time frame you would have those guarantees.
I think we're affiliated with the councils anyway, and that is part of the bargaining too.
It's seeking a guarantor from the, that's what I'm hearing from the conversation. At $1 million, they're looking for guarantees from councils, and I don't think my council will be up for that.
Yeah, but we can only work within the terms and conditions that are offered. We'll have to explore that.
Is it guarantee or more condition?
No, that's a
No,
good.
don't think it's because the county council can't go.
Yes.
The Act does not permit the county council to guarantee anything by itself.
Well, I'm looking forward to the future proposals, so I'll happy to move forward to recommendation.
Okay, we have a seconder? Yeah, all in favour?
Yeah.
So what you need is the loan for Debbie for the next meeting.
I would hope we have it in the bank by then. It's a process that we have to go through. Obviously, the booking's going to be finalised after Christmas. So
Okay, well, then the next one is, the cash in the bank where we have
and
$827,000.
Yes.
So I was going to ask if we could maybe at some point try and find, slightly more at home money rather than having it at 0.25 renting cost. But that's just a comment. We can't deal with it at this meeting. It's just a suggestion.
Yeah, well, and I think also don't read this report as that's the money we have available at the moment. This is the statutory report to say this is what our investments have been. So that 513 is gone. It just take it as it doesn't exist, because that's our payment on the building. So we've got a payment outstanding of 552,000. So the 513 is gone, and 52 is going to be another 40. So that 314 is going to be about 275. So look at it at the moment that we have about $275,000 in the bank, and going down at a rate of what's the QBR saying? We're very clever. We could work it out.
Well, we've got November 552 again.
Yeah.
And then January is 591.
Yep.
So we're holding out that payment then for another month.
Sorry.
Oh, it's not due, isn't it?
It's due, said it was due for November, and it's only going to mature on 18th.
So
which is not,
November's when we're going to pay it, and it's due on the 18th, but we're going to call it in early because we have to make a payment.
So you're sacrificing interest to do that.
Yes. Not a lot, but
that particular term deposit's been so it's already accumulated significantly, and that rate. So it's called something about 2 weeks.
Right.
3 weeks.
Yeah, so 55%, so. Yeah, so I just want to be fair to everyone, take it as we've got about $275,000 in the bank. We don't get our WAP contributions until probably beginning of February on a good day.
We've been promised nothing.
Yes,
We've basically been given a verbal guarantee that we'll get the same amount of money as last time.
yeah. So,
Okay, well,
yes, so that's why we're trying to, finalise some discussions with the Commonwealth, yes. And it will be with the member councils as well.
All member councils paid up.
Sorry?
yeah,
Yes,
paid early this time.
yes. Well, that's of last week, yeah.
No, that's good.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay, well, the recommendation is that council receive a note report on investments as at 31st of October. In accordance with section 625 of the Local Government 1993 Act, and clause 2112 of the Local Government Regulation 2020 investment policy. Well, I'll move that from the chair. And have a second.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, let's have council Blackham second.
So yeah, it's from the chair, you made a second.
Yeah, well, we don't really.
I was voting.
It's leaving on there.
You're-
All in favour? Right, now we want to go to,
If it comes from local, it's fine.
It is.
yeah, well, like us, nice to see what's happening, that's all. Things are out of view from the chair. I wonder if we want to go into closed session and whether we should discuss the general manager's performance review before.
If we go into closed session.
Yeah.
Right, the vote, closed session.
And
Both closed session.
I'm sorry, just to respect, I think we missed item 9.3.
I thought
No, that's not what we just done.
No, we voted on the original one, which was the
yeah, I was just correcting that.
investment policy.
and I just read it and moved it from
Yeah,
there.
no, the item 9.3 it was a separate item relating to the cash deposit forecast. And it's only through notation, but it's,
I don't remember. I've only got the 9.3 we voted on.
Yeah, it looks like it follows on paper. I just took it as a cash flow forecast related to the
My-
investment policy.
Yeah,
my apologies.
Yes, yeah, well, I thought that's part of 9.3.
Yeah, my mistake, it wasn't originally intended that way, but
Cash and investment report. Usually, we're used to it.
wrapped it up and makes sense. Yeah, my apologies.
Okay, well, let's have a motion to go into closed session. Councillor,
okay, but we also have the liquidated issue.
yeah, no, that's the closed session.
Yes, I know, what I'm saying is that's the first,
Yeah.
section.
So we can move over to the closed session.
Yeah, let's vote to go into closed session. I'm just wondering if we're short of time, whether we should go to the general manager's performance review first.
You're the chair.
And I move a procedural motion to discuss the general manager's performance review first. If the only reason is that Paul has to leave,
Thank you. Thanks, Larry.
Switch the function.
you can stretch, just discuss both of them.
I'll start to chat. Can you do the chat?
Yeah, just turn off the.
Works out right.
This is consumed by the people in and out, these gets repaid.
Do you want someone to write this and just that
Oh, yeah, help yourself, come on.
this like, I don't know.
Bad avoidable. Take the ball.
Think about.
Thanks for lunch, by the way. It's lovely.
Oh, Matt.
Yeah.
Sorry, if we're going to talk about Craigieburn now, then.
I no one to talk about your.
No, just talk about Craigieburn now, so.
Yeah,
Okay.
okay, well, that can come back.
All good. Anyway.
It'll be out there for you. Are we stop recording or should we stop recording?
For this week.
Are you definitely going to make sure it doesn't appear?
No, that's not what we call
Stop calling me up.
There you go.
I like left,
Left of that.
Too far left.
too far, downward, downward.
Yes.
There you go.